What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Cinema Club podcast. My name is Nick Leach, and I'm a filmmaker and producer. I love movies. I've always been obsessed with watching movies and TV, and even more than just watching them, I love finding out how the films are made and written. I'm so excited for you all to join us on our first episode of the Cinema Club. The Cinema Club is like a book club, but for movies. Everyone is welcome, whether you're a filmmaker or just love watching movies. This is a place for us to all watch and share the movies we love, and maybe watch some movies we wouldn't watch on our own. Before we get into our movie of the week, Super 8, I just wanted to let you know a little bit of how this works. This week is a little bit different because this is the first episode, but every week after this, I'm going to ask one member of the Cinema Club to choose the movie of the week for everyone to watch. Every Friday, we will announce the movie of the week on the Cinema Club Facebook page, as well as open up a chat on Discord for members to discuss the film. Then the person that chose the movie of the week will join me on that week's podcast, and I will invite one other member of the club to join us to discuss the film. This week, I chose J.J. Abrams' film Super 8 and have invited two of my filmmaking friends, Connor and Jake, to join me.
I've got nothing against your friends. I like your friends. Now, things have obviously changed for us.
I have to help Charles finish his movie.
Be good for you to spend some time with kids who don't run around with cameras and monster makeup.
Could you close your eyes, please?
Yeah. And action! Guys, watch out! Run! Go, go!
An eastbound freighter derailed. What the cargo was on that freighter, we don't know.
We can't tell anyone.
I know.
I understand you have concerns about our cargo.
Colonel, there isn't anything else that I should know, is there?
I can assure you the answer is no.
We've gotten calls from people who found local dogs, but the calls coming in aren't local.
Lucy!
It's like they all just ran away.
I've got property damage. I've got theft. I've got 9 people missing now. There are things happening around here that I can't explain.
We have to find this thing.
I don't feel good about this.
Go!
I saw it. No one believes me.
I believe you. What the hell?
Well, before we get into Super 8, I just wanted to introduce my guests today. I have two awesome guests. One of them is Connor Fredrickson. Hey, Connor.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, Connor and I both went to film school together at East Carolina University. And my second guest is Jake Bruin, and he also was another classmate of ours.
Yes, I was. How is everyone doing? Everyone in the call and listening.
Doing pretty good. Can't speak for everybody else, but
Yeah, doing great. So yeah, I chose this movie because especially and you guys especially wanted on this because I mean we all kind of grew up to so to say in going to film school together. And that's what this movie is. It's all about just the love of film and the exploration that happens when you're a filmmaker. And I mean, I know that we've had similar experiences to this movie, being kids wanting to make films, and that's kind of what we even did in college, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah, seriously. Like when we were talking about it earlier, like when he asked to blow up his friend's train because he needs the shot. Like, it's just, you kind of feel that. And then like when she's like when the actress is just doing a great job of rehearsals, and
Oh, yeah.
he wants the camera rolling, or like the train's coming and he wants production value and they're scrambling to put film in the camera. Like, I feel that now because it's so relatable because that's literally how it goes.
What I just want to interject onto that too is that the guy is being a director in the sense that all of his friends don't understand it and they're just like, why is he so mean? Why is he so like, I want it my way? It's like, yeah, he's directing it.
Oh yeah, I felt that, especially when the girl brought it up. She was like, "He's so mean. Why do you just let him do whatever he wants?"
Well, it harkens back to when I was younger. That would be like, it would be middle school maybe, and there would be a project for like history class, and I chose to do the video project for some reason. And I thought, for some reason, my friends in middle school would be fine sitting there and listening to directions. Long behold, they could not take it to save their life. And I was like, dude, I feel this guy right now.
But yeah, just before we get into any more of the specific details, wanted to go into the synopsis of the movie, what it's all about. But in 1979, Deputy Sheriff Jack Lamb of Lillian, Ohio, and his 14-year-old son Joe mourn the death of wife and mother Elizabeth, who was killed in a workplace accident. And just wanted to note in there, like my first note here was literally that first shot is it's so perfect to begin the movie.
So good. It says so much with so little. Like, it's literally all visual.
I was reading that actually director J.J. Abrams actually wrote the movie kind of around that shot. It's the first thing that he had. Like, that was his idea for something to start like years before he wrote this film. And that then everything happened. So it could not be more perfect.
Yeah, I also read that he had two ideas boggling around his head. One was like a alien conspiracy thing, and another one was a coming of age story, and then he like combined the two. No, it was a good combination. I'm glad he did it.
It starts off with this thing that is not just a like showcasing what has happened, that there's been this like tragic accident, which is such a good way to start the movie, but also it's foreshadowing a lot of what ends up happening in the film, you know?
Yeah, I'll agree with that. My biggest complaint, though, is the direction it kind of goes into, because it's built upon, and I love where they go with it. But for where the movie goes, you know, there's this underlying layer of fat between the cop, Jack, the Joe's dad, and Lewis, the guy who was supposed to go to work when the accident happened, taking Jack's wife. They kind of are absent in the third act. Like, they show up, they drive together, and then they show up after everything's done. And I kind of wish that they were more having to work together than just, hey, we have to go find our kids. Oh, we found them. The thing is over. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, they really like delve into. I mean, I kind of love the character, the father, both of the father characters, because they were two very different characters, like in their profession and what they did in their work and stuff. But at the end, and as well as like their social status, one was a cop, one was a deputy sheriff, and the other was kind of the town vagrant. But like at the same time, they were so similar. Both had clearly lost both of their wives. They both were kind of absent fathers in their children's lives.
Yeah, they were both assholes.
Which is why I wish they were a little more integral to the end where their kids were in danger. I kind of wish that because of how much they stepped away from their kids' lives because of what their own issues were, that they could kind of put their differences aside and make an impact on what their kids were dealing with. Instead, they just kind of show up at the end.
Okay, to be fair, that is kind of what they did, though, and but it wasn't
smallest
yeah,
scale.
But they literally just drove and found them. And by the time they found them, you know, all the shit was over. So
exactly, that was my point. I mean, you open the movie with the fact that there's an accident, meaning that the very first thing you find out about is the driving force to their feud. So if it's not, I just think that if you're going to open the movie with it, it has to make some sort of impact for the end of the movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that, actually, because, I mean, that was one thing I forgot to actually take note on, was the fact that, like, the accident, although tragic and adding depth to the characters, didn't really do anything for the plot. I don't know necessarily if it had to, but it almost felt like it was kind of just taking up space. But to be fair, it did tie into the kid's relationship with the girl, and I'm terrible with names, so you guys are gonna have to help me out with that. But the main kid,
Alice
yeah,
was
and
the girl.
Alice and his crush with her, like it definitely fed into their relationship, and I like how it made that relationship a lot more complex. The relationship that bothered me though wasn't even a relationship. It was the fat kid having a crush on Alice, and that came out of nowhere with no explanation. And then they dropped it like it was nothing. Like it was there for 5 seconds, like just a little spat for no freaking reason. Like, and that just really bothered me because there was no, like, as soon as they brought Alice into the picture, like they never showed a shot of, I'm just going to call him the fat kid because I can't remember his name, but like they never showed a shot of him like being nervous or anything. Charles, thank you. Yeah. Like,
I actually took note. I wrote Charles in charge
of our day and our lives. Yes. But anyways, let's get back to the synopsis here. So, after they mourn the death of their mother, Elizabeth, Jack blames Elizabeth's coworker, Louis Daynard, as she was covering the shift because he showed up to work drunk, and all Joe has left is a locket that belonged to her. And it was really sweet how they took that locket throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice touch.
It was a nice little like, connection and safety net that he had to let go of, which I thought was well done.
4 months after Elizabeth's funeral, as school lets out for the summer, Joe helps his best friend Charles to make a low-budget zombie movie for a film competition. Charles enlists the further help of fellow friends Preston Scott, Martin, Carrie, as well as Daynard's daughter, Alice. Though their fathers would be furious, Joe and Alice become close to each other.
And I loved that whole aspect of the film, the zombie movie that they were making. I thought everything that had to do with that, I was in love with it. I said, this is exactly what I love about this movie.
They definitely nailed the child filmmaker, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, the whole film is titled Super 8, and so having that Super 8 film that they're making just pulls it all together, and I think it's such a genius way to showcase. I mean, you're showing a film within a film, and that carries throughout, even through the credits, which is awesome.
I will say one of my favorite parts of the whole movie, honestly, was that student film at the end during the credits. Like, that was great.
That's what I was gonna say too.
The kids got tied up in all of it by making a Super 8 film, by making a movie on Super 8 film, and captured footage of the alien on Super 8 film. And it's a piece of the film. It's a piece of the movie.
Yeah, the Super 8 footage of that alien, I mean, is what ties the entire thing together. And so the fact that they're making the film and that they become the thing that changes in the end, because that's I mean, the reason that the military comes and tries to spoilers, but the reason the military comes and tries to get them is because they're the ones with the footage, you know.
I will say though, I wish that the camera stayed more as a character. Like, I would have loved to have maybe had Charles in the final act using the camera, thinking production value. Like, there's a little war zone in their town, dude. Production value.
Yes.
Like, I wish at the end he still had the camera on him and he was running around through the whole third act with it.
And just wanted to note here just about the whole kid thing. Like this movie was like J.J. Abrams like tribute to all the 70s like Kid Crew movies or Spielberg movies, or like it introduces, like it brings back that Kid Crew like you found in Goonies.
Yeah.
Or
you know, I
was getting Goonie vibes.
The whole time I was watching it, I was like, wow, this is a darker tone version of E.T. And then the whole time that I was watching it, I was picking apart some of the things that Super 8 did differently from E.T. And Spielberg was actually a producer on it, and he was, I don't know if you guys read that, but he was a producer on it. He was on set a lot too. I kind of wished he had taken the note from E.T. to shoot it from the children's angle, from their point of view.
It
I
was
saw
lacking that perspective issue of where is this coming from. Like, yeah, it was following Joe and his journey, but at the same time, it's almost like Abrams was trying to go with more of the kid crew. We're following the kids around rather than just Joe.
Yeah, but then you would cut to a scene where the dad gets arrested by the military or whatever, and then you cut to other scenes like that, and then I kind of just lose that whole adventure feeling that you get by being with the kids and following them. You know, there's a certain sense of disconnection from the kids once you cut to those adult issues.
Right. And the other thing too, just going back to like Abrams and Spielberg connection, I mean, that thing goes back to when Abrams was little. I mean, there's Spielberg framed the trajectory of Abrams' filmmaking life so much, and this is why this is such a beautiful film, paying homage to Spielberg. Because I mean, even when Abrams was 14, he actually was entering a Super 8 film contest that Spielberg was in charge of.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
he actually
I did not know that.
he won it and caught the attention of Spielberg, and Spielberg actually hired him as a 14-year-old to come and restore some of his Super 8 footage.
Oh, that I heard about, but I didn't know how he got the job.
That's awesome. That made me like this movie a lot more just hearing that. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, and it shows so much throughout that this is a tribute to the person that made him who he was.
Well, yeah, and I love the whole setting and everything, and bringing that kind of, because that kind of got lost, that whole the kids gang thing, going on their adventure, that kind of got lost and then revived with like Stranger Things. But you know what my favorite thing about all of that is? I love the idea of the old school small town where everyone kind of knew each other and you could ride your bike everywhere in the town. There was only one school, and you know,
dude, I love the idea of it. I hate the actuality of it, but I love
the actuality of it. I think that's something that's missing now, is the small town scale. Everyone knows each other to an extent.
I also wanted to talk about Joe and Alice's relationship, because I really appreciated what the kind of innocent love that they did in this movie, rather than just a blatant, like, you get a kiss at the end. No, they hugged at the end and they held hands. They didn't kiss.
No, it was a middle school version of love. They did a pretty good job of that.
But I also just loved that Alice character. She was so good. Like, Elle Fanning did an awesome job at portraying.
She did a great job. I thought she stole the show.
Me too.
She was my favorite actress. She was my favorite actor in the whole film.
And this was her start. This was, I mean, she was in a couple other things, but this was like her breakout role as an actress. And so she stole the thing. Like, she was a badass, yet at the same time, she had a lot of depth, and like she felt a lot, like, with her dad and shit. And then when she was captured by that alien, like, she had so much range that the character had to go through, and she did it perfectly.
Yeah, no, she delivered on all fronts. I mean, I have no.
And I mean, how badass is it for the girl that you're kind of obsessed with to come and be driving a car at 12?
That really nice looking car.
Oh, so I read a piece of trivia on that too. So she actually was 12. Like, she was not young enough to be driving. I don't know if she was actually 12 exactly, but she wasn't old enough to be driving. So what they did was, in the back seat, they had a stunt driver with a mini steering wheel actually driving the car.
That's so great.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So anyways, they drive the car out to train depot. Charles has them film a scene at a train depot at midnight. And during a rehearsal, a train approaches, and Charles has them start filming the train as it passes to add production value.
Production value! You put film in the camera, right?
No. Do it now. But yeah, like, I thought that scene was so cool. Like, it's so.
Oh yeah, I thought that was great.
I mean, you have the tin can lights, and you have.
I love the tin can lights.
You have that really cheap makeup, and and he had that special effects book that he was using to do the makeup. And
I loved the whole art behind that. Like the fact that they would dive into the depth that makeup artists go through to create the characters that they're putting in their film. I loved that they touched in detail what was going on there and how in depth it was.
Hell, these kids had a better production crew than even some of our films.
Right. Right.
Oh my God, that's actually sad how true it is.
While filming, Joe witnesses a pickup drive onto the tracks and ram the train, causing a massive derailment that destroys the train, the depot, and the surrounding area and separates the children from each other amidst the chaos. That train crash was ridiculous.
Can I,
Okay.
Connor, please, Connor, please. Let me take this, please.
All right, go.
So when I was watching the movie, I saw it go down, and in my head, I'm like, I'm no train expert, but I'm pretty sure, and I'm not a pickup truck expert either. I don't think though that a pickup truck going headfirst into this train will derail it and blow up the train station and create a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Then I noticed in the mayhem that the car that they drove there didn't get any damage. There wasn't a noticeable scratch. No tires got popped. No windows got smashed. I was like, Then they go to the truck, and the dude that drove the truck is still alive. And I'm like, are you God? Like, dude. And it's not even the point that he survived. He survived to the point where he could start exposition dumping all over the place before the cops showed up. And I was like, okay, I'm still here, but Jesus Christ, man, that's a stretch to my disbelief.
Like, here's the thing. Like, okay, so I read up on that, and apparently J.J. Abrams did that to and made it like extra blowy uppy, whatever you
train go boom.
Yeah, it's just he made it so extra, but he did it on purpose because he wanted to pay homage to sci-fi movies in the 1970s, and I get that, but it didn't fucking work. Like, it just, nobody gets that reference, and it hurt the story. It was very entertaining, so you got a lot of entertainment value from it, but then you hurt the story while doing it. It's just, I don't know, man.
But did you also hear that, like, when that train car came, like, straight for the station, there was actually the sound effect of a semi-truck?
I didn't hear that.
It was literally like a semi-truck as it was blowing its horn, passing by. Like, it was so funny. So Joe finds himself near one of the cars, the loading door of which is violently thrown off by an unseen force. And eventually the kids regroup and wander amid the wreckage, finding a crate full of strange white cubes. They discover the truck driver to be Dr. Now, let's go to those white cubes. Like, I get that it was what was making the alien ship and shit, but that stuff was so, like, it just looked like plastic cubes. It just
Did anybody else think they looked like plastic styrofoam?
Yeah.
It looked like cheap plastic. That kind of bothered me.
But the thing that bothered me even more than anything was that these white cubes, you saw throughout that they were changing. The one that Joe took home, it changed and it was like vibrating, but like it didn't go anywhere. Like, it changed.
I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah, I was wishing that they had gone more into why it was changing. Like, I get that it was shape-shifting and stuff, but like they didn't go far enough into it. And I think that's my biggest problem with this movie, is that it had so many good ideas that were not taken far enough.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, if I had this thing that I got from a train crash site and I found out that this train was like a military train and it had this weird thing I've never seen before, I wouldn't put it on my desk and then never touch it again. And he didn't even poke it with a pencil. He didn't even notice that it changed. It just sat there until the plot decided to make it vibrate. And then it shot out the window, and then they're like, oh, it disappeared, dude.
Oh, it disappeared. Well, I wonder why. And then they didn't even care. They didn't go into why, like, oh, why is it doing that? You know?
There were things that were introduced, and then like it becomes interesting until it never gets talked about. Like they're like, the dog's missing. Oh, got found 2 towns over. Why? I don't know. It's never been like that before.
Look, I'm not going to be too much of an ass about it because I don't know what I would have done differently. It's just, I don't know. Those unknowns don't sit well with me from a storytelling perspective.
Right.
Because, I mean, like I said, it is an alien. They're not supposed to know what the hell is going on. It's not supposed to make sense to them.
Yeah.
And yet it still bothers me that I don't understand what's happening, and it's not really in a good way.
Yep, exactly. Well, the children flee the scene when a convoy from the local Air Force base led by Colonel Nellick arrives at the scene. Nellick discovers an empty Super 8 film box and assumes the event was deliberately captured on camera. Okay, that part was lost to me when I saw it. I just got it now. I did not I didn't even note why he was picking up the film canister and realizing that it was actually filmed. That I'm just getting that right now.
Well, I picked up that he picked up film. I'm like, oh, he picked that up. He's going to go after the kids now because, who else other than these kids who keep showing up to each site with a Super 8 camera? I wonder where the Super 8 film came from. And then they just were never, it's like they went after the kids when the kids actually interfered, but they never went after him simply because they picked up on the fact that, hey, they're showing up to all of our things with a Super 8 camera.
To be fair, they had more urgent matters to be concerned about.
Well, I know, but they got to keep everything under wraps. So if there's all of a sudden now this footage out there of what's been going on, their secret's blown.
Look, the colonel, the military in general, was he a colonel or a general? What was he?
Colonel.
Colonel. Okay, yeah. The colonel sucked. He sucked. He was a terrible villain. He was a terrible antagonist. He had no depth. He was just it would make sense that he's, just doing his job. But then when the survivor, when the scientist or whatever is on that bed and refusing to cooperate, they just fucking kill him. I'm just you're just being evil for no reason. That just didn't make sense to me. It's just it's like they did that just for the sake of making him a bad guy. And then he had no depth at all. And your heroes are only as good as your villains.
So overhearing military communications, Jack and the officers approaches Nellick to figure out what he is up to amidst the panic and if he has some part of it, but Nellick has him arrested, and Nellick orders flamethrowers to be used to start a wildfire outside the town as an excuse to evacuate people to the base. So when they in the sheriff's office, in the police department, when they have those when they overhear the military chatter, they talk about this Operation
Walking Distance.
Operation Walking Distance, and what I found is that Walking Distance is actually a Twilight Zone episode reference, and it was J.J. Abrams' favorite Twilight Zone episode, and I thought that was really cool. And here's the thing, Walking Distance, I did a little looking, and Walking Distance, the Twilight Zone episode, is actually about time travel back to the protagonist's childhood.
Oh, wow.
And so it's all about childhood and the things you could do different in childhood. And I think that's such a perfect reference to this movie because it's all about, especially for J.J. Abrams, calling back to his own childhood.
Okay, I love that now. I love when directors will interject little things that they love that harken back to something that made them get into the profession that they're in. And only knowing exactly what they were and where they came from and knowing something about that director makes those little Easter eggs a lot more fun to see.
So at the base, after they've been evacuated because of the fire, Alice's father tells Joe the creature has abducted her because, Alice, when they had that huge fight, Alice was taken by that creature. So Joe, Charles, Martin, and Carrie convince Jen Charles' older sister to pretend to hit on Donnie, the worker from the camera store, so he can get them into the town to rescue Alice.
I feel bad that he was too stoned to see the ship take off. That's good. He has to live with that the rest of his life.
I loved all that kind of aspect. That felt like the hijinks of a young gang in like the coming of age story where the gang's got to, we got to do this thing. Let's convince the older person who's obviously just like only thing on his mind is sex. Let's manipulate that so he can take us to where we need to go. It fell right in line with everything I love about those kind of movies.
So they break into Dr. Woodward's storage trailer and discover films and documents from his time at the government as a government researcher. I did like this. It gave me kind of some It vibes, but at the same it was a lot of exposition, and I do think it was a little bit too much, but it really was a needed exposition to tie it all together.
I agree with you in the sense that it definitely felt very much like just an exposition dump, but it gave answers to things that I was waiting for. How the doctor was involved, why he was at the train crash site, what this beast was. Because at that point, I don't think I found out it was an alien. I was like, oh, this thing's an alien. All right, now we're at alien stuff now. Because the whole time before that, I was thinking, okay, this is easily some sort of scientific experiment got wrong, monster gone loose. It's just running rampant. Now we know the motivation of the monster. And I was like, okay, I didn't know I needed that, but I'm glad I kind of have it now. I just wish it was done a little bit better.
So as the boys are watching the film, they get discovered by the military. Nellick captures the boys, but while they're returning them to the base, the alien attacks their bus. The boys escape as the alien attacks and kills Nellick and the airmen. I thought that was a really good, gripping, kind of scary scene. Like Connor was saying earlier about this being kind of a darker E.T. This is especially that part that really like made it that dark kind of. This alien is out for blood.
Right. It's angry, and it's a good thing that we learned that it was angry before that happened, because otherwise, in what I would have watched, not knowing its own motivation, it would have just felt like senseless killing, which then would have made the whole reveal that it was hiding people to eat them, like it would have made that feel way less coherent, because I would be like, well, then why don't you just eat them when you're killing them? And now we know that those attacks were personal vendettas they had against the military.
Yeah. Why was the alien attacking the bus in the first place?
Because he was
same reason why it was attacking everything else.
The reason he was attacking the bus, the reason he was attacking everything else is because he's after Nellick specifically, because Nellick was the person in charge of the torture that it went through when it was captured.
Okay. Are we making that assumption, or was that played out in the film?
No, I think it was played out enough in the movie, because you saw Nellick in that footage ordering the people to do all this stuff. He was in charge of the cleanup and shit.
But I mean, he's got other shit to do. Like I don't know, man. Like he's in the middle of building a rocket ship.
Yeah, E.T.'s trying to get the fuck home.
Yeah, I don't. It's just.
But Nellick is the one that is preventing him from doing that freely. Nellick is the person that's coming after him. He's trying to chase him, and so he has to stop Nellick from chasing him so he can actually finish the craft, you know?
Yeah, good point. Take into consideration this dude just broke out of train jail. Like, he's on the run right now, and if he could take out the dude who has to keep him on the run, I think he would probably go and do that before jettison off this planet. You know what I mean?
Here's my thing. All this stuff we've been talking about makes sense, but we've had to have like a deep discussion about it, really even be able to break all this stuff down. Nobody really got any of this like while they watched it.
On surface level, I like just watching the movie, it just made sense to me the alien attacked the bus. Like I didn't need the motivation as much. Like now after the videos that they watched, I understood why it was killing those guards, because I was like, oh, it got fucking abused. But at the same time, like, it's not out of character that this thing was attacking things. It attacked the cop.
It's not out
of
character,
station.
But it's out of cause and effect nature. Like that, all these issues whether it's the engines in the car, whether it's the dogs running away, whether it's the alien attacking the Colonel, all of these things like violate the cause and effect nature of screenwriting. That's what's bothersome about it.
I disagree with you a little bit in the sense that in the movie we're shown that this alien is killing and it's attacking and killing. So it didn't feel out of nowhere that the bus just got attacked by the alien. And the other giving the alien motivation just gave me more answers to things that were going on that I didn't really like, that just embellished it more, but it didn't feel out of nowhere that it was attacking the bus. It didn't feel like it was written poorly. I just assumed it's doing the same thing it did to the cop at the gas station. It's doing the same thing it did to the guy on the crane on the truck, fixing the light post. It just felt like natural actions that the monster was doing. Now knowing that it's an alien that was abused gave it more depth. So I kind of, in my personal watching, on surface level, it's just like, I understand why it's doing that. I don't know the motivation as clearly as I'm getting it now that we're talking about it, but it didn't feel out of nowhere. It felt very much in line with the previous actions of the alien.
Yeah, I think what was missing the most was just that motivation. And I think that if they had explained kind of the character of Nellick a little bit better, and just explain things a little bit better without having to go into deep exposition, that could have easily been done to motivate why this alien wants to attack Nellick even more, and would make that a little bit harder punching when it actually happens, to put these boys in extreme danger. Anyways, as this is happening, well, after this happens, Jack escapes from the base's stockade and gets to the shelter housing the townsfolk. Preston tells him about Joe and the boys' plan to rescue Alice, and Jack and Daynard agree to put their differences aside to save their kids. In the town, the military attempts to kill the alien, but their hardware goes haywire, and it's in its presence, resulting in significant collateral damage while the boys are running through the town. Now, this part was insane.
Connor, you kind of told me a little sneak peek before we started this. I want you to go on this part.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. So it starts where he says to use the big guns or whatever, and they start firing. And then it's a mess out here, sir. And then they're just firing fucking everywhere. It's like bombs are dropping in World War II. But they're not pointing in any general direction. You've got tanks running over swing sets, not going in any direction, just to make a U-turn. And then they shoot a missile to the right and it ends up going back in a 180. And everybody's doing this in every which direction. I get it that they're all going, that everything's going haywire because something's fucking with the mechanics from the spaceship or whatever. I can grasp that. But all the tanks should be pointing in the same fucking direction. Everybody should be pointing in the same direction. What the fuck are you trying to shoot at?
What was ridiculous is that going back to the ridiculous sound effects, it sounded like phaser fire or some kind of gunfire from fucking Star Wars.
It looked like a video game.
It's just way over the top. We thought the train scene was way over the top and ridiculous. This was just nuts.
And at least with the train, they said that they did it to pay homage to sci-fi 70s movies. This part has no fucking excuse. This is just stupid. There's just no logic going into this.
The only benefit of the doubt I might give it, and this is really putting headcanon on it, is that when they go after the alien or whatever, it's coming back and leaving its own nest or whatever that it's doing. And I'm only assuming that it's running rampant throughout the town. So the tanks don't know where the monster is and they're shooting at the monster. But that is, and then maybe with the messing with the trajectory.
Dude, if you know where the monster is and you don't just like spray and pray with tanks.
Oh, I'm just saying in my own headcanon. I'm totally agree with you how ridiculous it is.
Also, like, if you're gonna be that way, then you need to be showing the monster more.
I get you. I totally agree with you.
Well, anyways, during all of this, Martin is injured, so Charles stays behind him. So Joe and Carrie head to the cemetery garage where Joe had earlier seen something suspicious. They find a massive tunnel system down under the town with a cavern where the alien is creating a device from the town's stolen electronics attached to the base of the water tower. The alien also has the people it had captured, including Alice, hanging unconscious from the ceiling to use them as food.
Anybody else find it heavily convenient that as soon as Joe goes down into the cave, the monster's like, I think I'll eat Alice now. And like,
yes.
Oh,
out of all the people you have captured, like the sheriff is still there. You've had that dude hanging there for weeks.
Oh my God. And then he just dies out of nowhere.
What I literally wrote down, wow, way to pick the time to eat Alice when she could just now be saved, but just enough time where the stakes are also like, we need to do something now. Alice is about to get eaten. It's like she never got eaten before. Like she's been gone for a while. And the monster's like, I'm going to save this for when the plot decides that there needs to be stakes.
I'll save my meal for when the plot thickens.
All the kids had their plot armor on.
I did. Did anybody else chuckle when the lady with the hair rolls got picked up?
She had no plot armor, dude. That's why she got eaten. She had no plot armor. She didn't raise her XP for plot armor.
So using Carrie's firecrackers as a distraction, Joe frees Alice and the others, but the three kids are trapped. During the whole thing, like one thing we didn't even touch over is the fact that when people get touched by the alien, they understand what is going on. Like, yeah, that's really convenient, but I think it provides something beautiful to what I'm about to say. Is that when I was looking deeper into it, that creature that picks up Joe as he looks into his eyes, and the eyes finally, like the outer eyes finally open to see the inner eyes. Those inner eyes are actually digital CGI recreations of the eyes of Joe's mother.
That would have been really powerful if we could tell that by looking at it. It's good to know. But I'm not knocking it. I will say that was another one of my top favorite shots because when he reveals his actual eyes, it shows that he has a soul.
Well, also not even just that he has a soul, but when Joe understands the alien, what the alien is going through, the alien at the same time has a psychic connection with him and understands all the shit that he has been through with his mother dying. And so his eyes finally open up, revealing the eyes of his mother, and I think it's just the alien understanding Joe it shows that through the inner eyes being opened up, and so I thought that was a really
I thought it was a great visual way to deliver empathy between the two characters. I thought it was a great job.
With what we're talking about, where their souls connect and they understand each other's situations, the only other time that was ever touched on was when the doctor was laying in bed, and they kind of talk to him about, oh, I'm in him and he's in me. And I was like, oh, what is that? What are we dealing with here? And then I totally forgot until she's like, I saw what it saw because it touched me. And I'm like, oh, we're bringing that back. And then there's never an exchange of the monster understanding the depth of the human that it touched, other than it only trusted the guy. And you found that in the videos. But I had to kind of retrace my steps to be like, okay, I guess that's where they did that. Okay, I guess that's where they did that, and that's why that got said and all this stuff. But especially with the mother's eyes kind of thing, that is a lot of digging to understand that, and it would have been so much better had that have been on the top level instead of being buried under other stuff.
Notice this pattern of us having to really dig for shit after the fact to understand it. Like, it's just, okay, like I understand as a filmmaker, you need to let the audience work for it and not underestimate the intelligence of the audience, and you need to let them be able to figure things out. But this kind of just goes a little too far. I don't think it rode that line very well.
Well, anyways, after that, the alien releases Joe and departs, allowing the three to return to the surface. As Joe and Alice reunite with their fathers along with Carrie, they and the military all watch as various metal objects from all over the town be pulled up to the top of the water tower by an unknown force. The white cubes are also pulled in to reassemble the alien spaceship using the tower as its base. The alien enters the spaceship and the locket is drawn from Joe's pocket towards the tower. After a moment, he lets it go, completing the ship, and the ship rockets into space. Joe takes Alice's hand. I thought that it was a great ending. It to a point, like I think it was beautiful with the locket and everything. I think it was a great tribute to, again, the Steven Spielberg. It was a very similar ending to E.T. or also First Encounters. So I thought it was a great homage to it. And then we get the best, probably my favorite part of the film.
I loved it.
Which is the case.
Did you catch the Romero chemical? George Romero, the godfather of zombies and stuff.
Yes.
These Romero chemicals. I love that. And you know what? I love that because that tells me that the kid who is directing the little film, he knows his stuff enough to be like, oh, I love zombie movies. I love George Romero. I'm going to do what J.J. Abrams has been doing the whole film, putting a bunch of things, paying homage to Spielberg the same way that this kid would do it in his own.
Well, I think the perfect bookend to the entire movie, to call back to the reason that the film was made in the first place, is that you have Charles ask for his short film The Case to be picked for an international film festival before being attacked by Alice. Like, that's kind of a perfect bookend, because that's what J.J. Abrams did to get connected with Spielberg.
But the whole time I'm asking, when am I going to see the footage? When do I get to see it? Because they keep talking about how they're going to get the footage from the guy and they're going to watch it and they're going to see the train derail and all that stuff. And then the smoke's in the way and all they do is see the alien. And I'm like, I need to see more of the footage. The movie is called Super 8. Let me see the Super 8 footage, please. And then at the end, they finally show it to me. I'm like, thank you. Finally, I get to see the film. So they brought it back, but I was going to be very angry if we never saw anything else about the film.
Exactly. I completely agree with that.
So I found out about Larry Fong when I was talking to my uncle, because my uncle, who, for the people who don't know, he works as a first AC in the industry, in the camera department. He's worked under Larry Fong before. He worked on Batman vs Superman with him. And it's abundantly clear that Larry Fong loves magic tricks, apparently. But I looked into his filmography and saw his work and just was like blown away. So I've been a fan of Larry Fong ever since I figured out who he was. And I thought he did an amazing job with this. Now, he did an interview with Indy Mogul breaking down some of the stuff from this movie. I love the style of everything. Me personally, the only thing that really bothers me is all of those lens flares. There's so many fucking lens flares.
Well, I mean, like, it's quintessential at Abrams.
Those blue ones in the sky, in the night sky, they're so distracting. They're so distracting. Any other lens flare that was in it that like came from the sun or a headlight or some shit was fine. It was there and then it was gone. And it was pretty while it was lasted. But the ones in the night sky, just this vibrant fucking bar in the middle of the black sky, it's just like running right across the character's face. Like I couldn't, it just bothered me so much.
Halfway through the film, in my notes, I wrote, "Holy lens flare, Batman!"
So I love this movie. I hope you guys did too. I chose this movie to start out this podcast because it perfectly encapsulates everything I love about film. It was definitely a different watch this time around. I mean, I've seen it many times before, but I saw things that I didn't particularly like, things that I really did like, and I just wanted to hear your guys' final thoughts, reviews of the film.
All right. So I'm really glad that you asked me to do this now that I watched the film, because going into it, I forgot everything about the film. I saw it first came out, and then I've never saw it again. But it hit everything that I love about film, the time period it took place in, the characters.
Doesn't know Jake's a huge 80s nerd and like a little bit 70s too.
Huge.
But like Jake loves period pieces. So.
Yeah. So this hit me exactly where I love film, and it put it in a setting that I love all the time. I've always talked about how I love the small scale town. Everyone somehow kind of knows each other. It harkens back to stories that my dad used to tell me from his youth, and something I never really got to experience in a town that has like 6 different high schools in its perimeter. And so the fact that I was able to go into this fantasy town and live in it for the last 2 hours really hit me at home, as well as the character development and putting in all these different unique characters. There's the kid who loves the movies, and that kid who's directing, Charles, he hit me personally from at that age where I would always take the video project from school, and I would try to do that and try to make my friends who didn't know anything. I didn't even know anything back then, but to try to get them to cooperate was such a struggle because they didn't really care. They just wanted to play. But I was like, I need this. Come on, focus, stuff like that. So I felt him every time. I'm just trying to direct. Then to also have my new obsession with old school horror movies and the way they look. And that kid is trying to do the exact same thing that I'm currently loving. So all that kind of hit me at a perfect moment watching this film. And then going into somewhat of the cinematography, but more just like the set design in general, this movie has atmosphere. And every time it got to night and every time the monster was about to attack, or just even seeing the sky, behind the lens flares, I loved being under that sky, especially when the stars were out. Even when something dreading was coming, it still felt like a night that I could have been in. And that's, again, atmosphere. And this is also diving into horror tropes of atmospheric horror, which is something I think goes underappreciated in modern horror. So to see the movie use that, I loved it. Where it kind of fell apart for me were some of the later story plots and beats that kind of seemed to come out of nowhere, and it took us to do this podcast to pull them all out. But I think that the movie in some aspects falls apart around the third act, and personally I wasn't a big fan of the alien design. I thought he was kind of just a big CGI spaghetti monster for most of it until we saw him up close. And then I thought there's good design in his facial features, but and maybe it's because I saw Stranger Things do it in its 3rd season. That monster looks very similar to this alien, but I just felt like they could have done something a lot more unique than this stomping around alien. It looked a lot like the creature from the Cloverfield film also. Yeah. And like I said, with everything that happened that were kind of over the top, and we lost a couple of character development moments, like between the two fathers, I thought, even if you don't have to kill one of them at the end, but to have them make at least a bigger gesture to save the kids that they were both so at odds about earlier. But that's kind of my general consensus on the film. I enjoyed it. It hit me everywhere that it needed to hit me. But as for plot, it kind of either tried to introduce too much or didn't wrap up enough by the end of it. So I give it, if we're going to go by 5-star standards, I'd say 3.5.
It was good. It was entertaining. It wasn't a waste of time. It was well crafted. I think I enjoyed the cinematography from Larry Fong more than anything. I think
understandable to your character.
Yeah.
Connor is a huge fan of cinematography, if you guys didn't know that.
I'm more of a fan of the visuals because the story wasn't really there. The script felt like it needed another draft. I thought the acting was amazing. I thought the cinematography was amazing. I thought ILM did a great job considering it was 2011. I'll give it 3 stars out of 5. I paused at the beginning because I almost was about to bring it down to 2.5 after bitching about it for so much, but that would put it in like the bad category, honestly. And I can't say I didn't have fun watching it.
It had heart, and that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, it had heart. It was fun to watch. It's a shame that every movie about a group of kids getting into trouble has to be a fucking period piece now, but
Because nowadays it's so much harder. Kids are so much more wrapped up in their own.
They play Fortnite on Xbox.
Exactly. You can't. And this is so reminiscent of something I wanted to talk to you about movies that can't be done today because of technology. But
I don't know. Like this thing just has so many script flaws. I don't know. I'm so stuck with it because I love the title. I love the cinematography. I love the acting. Like the good things about it are very good. And the bad things about it are very bad. And makes me want to make a drink. I don't just scratch my head. I will say this. It was a great film to break down because it had so many strong positives and strong negatives.
Great choice for the first podcast.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a great movie to learn from.
Yes.
Things that it does right and the things that it does wrong. So very happy to watch it.
Well, thank you guys so much for being a part of this first episode. I can't think of anybody better. Thanks, Jake, for coming in last minute.
Yeah, no problem.
I had a lot of fun doing this. I can't wait to see what the movies that all the rest of the community is gonna be suggesting to us in the future, and that's what I want this to be, as a community. So thank you guys for being a part of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I want to buy a Super 8 camera now. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly. Me too. But if you guys have any final shout outs, if you have any if you have anything going on in your life that you want the audience to know about.
Yeah, I mean, you can find me on Instagram at Connor Fredrickson. You can follow my company as well at MOS_ATL. Those are both on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time. Most of our projects are really kind of like hidden in the dark right now. We're doing a lot of work behind the scenes when nobody's watching, just working away. So working on a lot of things coming up in June. Gonna have a big month in June. So watch out for those projects.
And then I guess for me, the Instagram handle is at JAKE.BRUEN, all together, no spaces and everything like that. And I'm just working on music at the moment. So there's that. There's not really anything to shout out other than, depending on whenever this is heard or whenever this gets released, when the world opens back up, don't not go to the movie theaters. Go back to the movie theaters. Support movie theaters.
I couldn't say it better. And you can follow me at Nick Fleeto Leach on Instagram, and definitely like our podcast and give it a thumbs up and give us some comments on how we're doing, what we can do better. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast, and we'll see you on the next one.